Episode 8 of Season 4 of Fargo was titled The Nadir. Boy plays with fire. Josto wears his heart on his sleeve. Oraetta makes a surprising discovery. And Daffy closes in on Zelmare and Swanee. Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. I'm back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, and review of the latest episode of Season 4 of Fargo. We're all the way on Episode 8, titled The Nadir, which means the lowest point. Now, this was a very mixed bag of an episode for me, and we'll obviously break it down in this spoiler review. But before we dive into the details, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. That way you all can stay up to date of what's going on over here at Movie Files. If you are new to this channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing, and while you're at it, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my other Fargo reviews, other TV coverage, movie reviews, live streams, all the fun things we do on this very channel. It would mean a lot to me if you all can give this video a thumbs up, as well as share this video. It really helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And in the comments, let's discuss this episode. As we've been doing these last 8 weeks, we have some great conversations about your positives, your negatives, what you think about the characters' decisions in this episode, and let's make some predictions and theories of how we think episode 9, 10, and 11 will shape up. So let's discuss it in the comments below. So as I do every week, I kind of give you all my general thoughts up top, and then we'll get into the recap and breakdown here. But initial thoughts, man, this was a mixed bag of an episode. I felt like the episode took some characters back, like Lloyd, for example. I thought he made some great decisions last week, but those decisions came to bite him in the ass, right? And we'll talk about that in this review, but I feel like he took a step back as a character. I found and I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, but the Oraetta and Ethelreda storyline to me is just really not going anywhere. And I love these characters, I love these actresses, but I don't know what the show's doing with them, right? This ongoing kind of like who wrote the letter has been going on for like 4 weeks now. It's just like, can we move past it? Which I think we will after what we get in this episode. And then it was just, there were some highlights, and we'll get into it in the review with the missus having a conversation, Daffy and Lloyd meeting for the first time, but it was some wonky scenes, some things that just didn't really make sense to me, logistically speaking, but we'll get into it as I break down and recap the episode. But like I said in the comments, let me know how you all feel about this episode and what you hope to see for episodes 9, 10, and then the finale of this season. But let's go ahead and start it off with this recap. So the episode opens up with Josto having dinner with, I'm not going to lie, I can care less about this subplot with him and his future fiance and his future father-in-law. I don't even know if they're going to even be pivotal characters in the rest of this season. Who knows? Maybe they'll be the biggest players of the show in the last episodes of the show. But that subplot really isn't working for me at all. But we kind of cut between him having dinner and then him having, some pretty rough sex with Oraetta, as we kind of seen them do in past episodes. But within this scene, we see that he tells Oraetta that he will be getting married, and she shares a little bit of her backstory about her mom and how she was raised in the hospital, and why it's her, her being a nurse, as we know, is kind of like her calling. And it'll be really interesting to see again where they go with Orietta's story. The way I kind of see things playing out, this show is really kind of leaning, showing her being this devil of a character, literally a devil, as we saw this kind of weird shot when the Dr. Harvard passed out and saw this kind of red aura around her. I don't know if it's going to lean to Ethelreda killing her, and then like her killing her is going to release the souls of the people she's killed, and it's kind of like that's why we're seeing all these ghosts. I don't know. I hope that their storyline really plays out well, because I like those two characters, but I just feel like the show really doesn't know what to do with them. But nonetheless, we see within this opening scene, Orietta does find out the news that the doctor, and I mentioned it last week, as you can see in the clip here, keep in mind, this is her best way of getting to that letter. I think there could have been some other ways besides killing the doctor, right? But nonetheless, we see that, and again, I don't know if he's dead. He might just be poisoned and might not be able to speak, or I don't know. We'll see. I think he's dead, but who knows? But so I was to assume that he died, but as we find out on this phone call, as she's pretending to be Dr. Harvard's sister, that he will make a full recovery, which obviously sets some wheels off in her head. But within this moment, as she's finding out this news, we see that Josto takes that moment to tell her that he loves her and kind of tells her his backstory with growing up with the Irishman and all that stuff. So a very interesting scene. We'll see what comes of their relationship, if he's going to help her ultimately, because at the end of the day, we have to remember how they end up meeting obviously his dad died and she was the nurse that killed him, and based on the request that he made for Orietta to kill her dad. But they do have this connection where they're not, they want to take out the doctor, so maybe they'll work together, take out Dr. Harvard wherever he is out of the state. But nonetheless, it was really interesting to see Josto telling and confessing his love to Orietta. So after Josto confesses his love to Oraetta, we see he goes back to his headquarters where, surprise, surprise, his brother's alive. And we see this kind of confrontation where Gaetano throws him on the table, knocks him out. But surprisingly, we have this interesting scene here. And I'm not going to lie. This might be the one episode where Gaetano kind of played within the character. Now, I don't know if this is because we spent 8 episodes with this character and I've kind of gotten used to his kind of cartoonish ways, but for whatever reason, him not wanting to be the main guy and being behind his brother within this scene kind of fits the character more for me, and I kind of like the scene. I'm not gonna lie, between the two brothers as they kind of embrace each other for the first time. We see Gaetano, tells him that he does know that his brother ordered him to be killed, but he liked that because it shows that his brother has some kahunas, right? And that he took some initiative. And Gaetano tells him that I'm the bull, I'm the muscle, and you're the brains, essentially. Also known as, he called them, kind of the python, the snake of the two brothers. So Gaetano kind of bends the knee and kisses the hand and says, from now on, your safeguard is, I vow to keep your life safe and I won't betray you. As, like I said, he kisses the hand. So again, we talked about it last week. Is Loy letting Gaetano a good thing or a bad thing? And it seems like that backfired on him because the brothers are now united. But I also want to note something within that kind of reunion of the two brothers. If you all notice in the scene that Abel doesn't seem that happy. Now, I don't know, is it because he might be, would it be something if Abel is somehow a mole within this situation? I doubt it, but it was a very interesting look that Abel gave when he saw the brothers united. I don't think he likes this now. I think that he is kind of rooting for the Cannons maybe, but or he might have his own alternative motives. Who knows what, the people of New York maybe have told him that he didn't, relay the message back to the brothers. But let me know why you all thought that Abel gave that face, and if he isn't as happy as he should be of the brothers reuniting. So we transition to see that Lloyd finds out the news that the brothers are united and they will be standing together to take on the Cannons. But he says something very interesting. We've been kind of waiting for this moment all season, which he calls in the recruits by telling his gang that he wants them to make a call to Fargo. So, and we'll obviously talk about that scene at the end here. But as we kind of transition, this was one of those scenes I was talking about that I kind of really liked the dialogue. And it's kind of one of like 3 scenes I liked in this episode. So this is the moment where we get the 2 strong women of their families. We get Mrs. Cannon, Mrs. Smutney having a conversation, and right off the bat, I love how Mrs. Cannon tells Mrs. Smutney, we're not going to have that conversation. We're both African Americans. We both have our husbands that we kind of, they think that they're the head of the houses, but we know who really makes the calls of the house, right? But she tells her, I'm not going to be able to help you, so don't even bother asking me, right? And we see within this conversation, they realize that they do have a lot in common. They both have families. They both have children that they were willing to do anything for. Now, of course, we know that the Cannons think that their son Satchel is dead, which is why Mrs. Cannon is there to ask if they would do the service for them, which they don't have the body yet, and and that's something we'll talk about later that we didn't even know. We didn't get a hint of where Rabbi and Satchel are, but we'll talk about them here in a second. But we see this kind of conversation take place, and I like how Mrs. Cannon, even though she was told no, she's relentless, man. She wants to protect her family. She tells Mrs. Cannon that she wants another opportunity to make things right. And, she says, kind of Mrs. Cannon says, no to Mrs. Smutney, but in a way she says, I still want you to hold the services, which is kind of like a way of saying, like, if you do this for me, I'll try to help you out. But I kind of like that scene because, again, these are, even though we have Lloyd, we have, Mr. Smutney, they think that they're doing the best for their family, and they go about it very differently, right? But these 2 women are what anchors the family and what kind of keeps the family afloat. So I kind of like that moment between those 2 characters. So yet again, we get Oraetta and Lameo having a scene together. Now, this was a lot more of a meatier scene than when we got last week because they're talking about music. They're kind of being flirtatious. Now, I know that Ethyl Rita is like 17, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how old he is, so I don't know if, like, romantically speaking, are they going to be able to come together legally speaking, but we know back in the day age is nothing but a number, right? But we'll see what comes of that. But what I thought was interesting in the scene, and we talked about it last week in the amazing comments you all left, and I'm kind of on the same page as you all. We all believe that Sasha will become Mike Mulligan probably by the end of the season, but this show is really throwing in this idea. And stick with me here, because I mentioned last week, if, we have Oretta and Lameo coming together and them having a child and maybe being Mike Mulligan or being someone else, maybe in the lore of Fargo, but it's really kind of interesting to see them kind of having this romantic beat. It kind of reminds me of a forbidden love, because we see, the conversations kind of cut short by Mrs. Smutney as she tells, Oretta to stay clear of this guy. He's your captive. He's not your friend. He's your enemy. And she kind of warns her to keep away from him, which again, we know how that, that trope goes. When you tell a child or you tell your kid to stay away from a particular person, they're going to just go closer to them. So we'll see again. We might all be wrong, and Mike Mulligan might not come up at all, but I think, again, I'm really in the camp that Sasha will be Mike Mulligan. But again, this show is letting us know that there may be another baby in the mix between these two characters. So as we move forward, we see Orietta learns the news that the doctor will be making a full recovery, that he is out of state. He's protected because he's been almost killed twice now in this season. So they have him they have protection for him. And we see that, obviously she's not a big fan of learning that news. So we see that Orietta goes to her house. She rushes to her house. She grabs all her stuff. And I'm like, finally this happens. We see that she goes in her closet where all her memorabilia, all her trophies of her kills are. And she finally notices that Oretta's notebook is in her closet. And then she puts two and two together. She reads the letter, and she knows that this was the person that wrote the letter. She looks at the window, alluding to that she's now targeting, Oretta. And we'll see what comes of that storyline. Again, I don't know what they're doing with them. Again, I am to assume, and this is me making a theory, that, Oretta is going to be destined to get her killed, get her arrested, and by her doing that, all these ghosts that we've been seeing all year within this season are the ghost of the people that she's killed, and they follow her and they follow the people in town. And we'll talk about Swanee's ghost. She mentioned that earlier in the season, but I think by Ethyl, Rita taking her out, that's going to free the souls of a sense, and we'll see what comes of that. But again, I just wish that they're such great characters. I wish they had more to do, and I hope that episodes 9, 10, and 11, they'll really give them more to do within the season besides this cat and mouse game, and they're going to really kind of come within the main storyline. So this was another scene that I mentioned that I really love. This is the first time that we see Daffy meeting Lloyd, and the conversation they have was fantastic. As we see Daffy talking about the differences between how criminals think and them not holding people accountable for their actions, and how they can actually love people and they do loyalty over everything. I just thought that scene was so great. And we see, he gives Lloyd this ultimatum like, hey, I'll not focus on you and your criminal stuff that you do as long as you give me Swanee and Zelmare. And again, Chris Rock last week, man, he was so smart to me last week. He made some really great decisions, but then this week, it was just like he was just making just really irrational, really stupid decisions, in my opinion, and he kind of breaks the code, right? He tells Daffy where Swanee and Zelmare are, so he snitches on them, right? And we see that, how this kind of plays out. And I'm not going to lie, within that scene, I thought for a second there that Daffy was going to die in that moment, but we'll talk about him a little bit later. But again, I just love that conversation. I love Timothy Olyphant. I love that conversation between those two characters. It's sad that we won't get more of him, and we'll talk about that scene later, but let me know what you all thought of that great dialogue and that monologue, and the last one that we're going to get from Daffy. So as we kind of move forward, we see that Otis wants to be a good cop again, as he tells Daffy, and Daffy tells him, well, if you want to be a good cop again, and if you want to be a man, you have to die like a man. So he tells him to kind of go on this mission with him. But it was interesting in that scene, and this is where the show gave us shoulders to their hand. Daffy asked Otis who was on the phone with, and he told him it was Lloyd, and he told him that Lloyd wanted the women to be killed or be taken in, but preferably killed. But obviously, well, not obviously, but I am to assume the actual conversation went to Otis. Lloyd told him to kill to kill Daffy and to kill the women, and we'll get to that scene later on. But again, it was interesting to see the last moments that we get with Daffy. So as we see Daffy go into the train station, and Swanee and Zelmare have their candy, they say their goodbyes, they're giving each other their final kisses, they have this bang bang shootout. We see, and this is a scene that I did not like, I'm not gonna lie. It had moments, but I just, as a whole scene, I just wasn't a fan of. So we see, I guess we Swanee and Zelmare take out all the cops. Okay, sure. And then we see that the last man standing is Daffy. They run out of bullets. Okay. And then, we see that Otis finally gets the courage to come out of the car, to go into the train station. And again, his orders, which I assume Lloyd told him, to kill the marshal and to kill the two women. The coordination of the scene didn't work to me. Again, the logic of them, there was probably about 20 cops. And I know they're just kind of badass outlaw ladies, and they live, right? But then to the one on the bullets in the Deafy scene. So we see Otis. He ultimately kills Deafy. I hate the way that he went out because he's such a great character. Now, and again, it's portrayal. It would make sense that Otis is the one that kills him, right? But I wish it was more justice for that character, to say the least, right? Because I love Timothy Olyphant. And I just wish that there was more to that character than him just dying on the hands of Otis, this kind of cowardly character. We see that Otis shoots Swanee in the head. And also, I should mention that Swanee saw her ghost, the ghost that I assume of her killed people that she's killed in the past. We see that, Zelmare is obviously upset by that. She sees the ghost as well. And this is where, again, this scene was just really weirdly kind of put together. Otis stops for a minute and doesn't shoot Zelmare, and by him not doing that, she runs past him, knocks the gun out of his hand, and she escapes. So I assume she's going to be on this revenge trail to probably try to kill Lloyd, to try to get her, revenge for, Zelmare dying, and we'll see what comes of all that. But I just thought that the structuring of that scene and just the logistics of it all just didn't really work for me as a whole. But let me know what you all thought of the death of both Daffy as well as Swanee, and what you all hope to see become of this storyline. So as we wrap up the episode, we see the two brothers, Josto and Gaetano, having this kind of weird conversation, another kind of weird scene. They're talking about, Josto tells him that he, has Calamina being chased down, that the boy is still alive, but he's on a mission to kill him, and they have a laughing moment. The mother comes out and tells him to come inside, and this was all kind of predicted. I kind of saw this coming as far as the death of the mother. But as the scene kind of plays out, we see that call for Fargo is the recruitments to come in. They shoot up the place, and then this is just like a really kind of type of moment for me. This is like put your, your belief on the side as far as how this scene should have played out. But we see Gaetano with two guns scaring off about 15 men, which again is just like, okay, well, sure, this is just a good convenient way for the story to kind of keep certain characters alive. So he scares them off. He checks on his brother. We hear people screaming in the house, and again we see that there are multiple women that die, but more importantly, Gaetano and Josto's mother is killed, which means they're going to go on this killing spree. And the Cannons and the Fada family are now just full on bloody war. Dr. Senator's dead. They think that his son's dead, Satchel, and then now their mother's dead. So we're going to get to a full bloody war between those two. At least I hope that's the case, right? So again, overall, there were moments that I liked in this episode, but I didn't like the structuring of certain scenes. I felt like Lloyd took a step back with some of the silly decisions that he made to give up the women, to make this call to kill. Everything kind of backfired for Lloyd, right? Him uniting the brothers backfired. Him having the order of the kill of both, Swanee and Zelmare backfired, as well as, Duffy kind of backfired on him because she's still out there. Him ordering the kill for Fargo to kill the brothers backfired. So again, Lloyd just kind of took a step back from me personally. In regards to, again, I mentioned Orietta and Ethelrita, I'm not liking where their story is going. I really hope that now that she knows who wrote that letter, that we can get them more better storylines, and they're not just popping in every other episode and just having like 2 or 3 scenes. So I hope that their story gets meatier, especially now that Daffy's gone. We lost another pivotal character, so hopefully their storyline's able to propel them into the main thread. So, and we'll see. We didn't get any more Satchel. We didn't get any more of Rabbi. I assume that's going to be the follow-up next week. But, yeah, man, this episode was kind of a mixed bag. I'm going to rewatch it, and I'll probably let you all know if I think the same before I get into next week's review. But that's my thoughts on the review. Again, let me know if you all definitely think that Satchel will be Mike Mulligan, or if it will be maybe this forbidden love between Lameo and Ethelrita. And then let me know what you all, again, these theories of the ghosts. Are these the ghosts that of the people that that Orietta is killed, and by Oraetta killing her or turning her in, those ghosts or spirits will be free and we won't see them again. But let me know your pros, your cons, your theories of this episode, and what you hope to see in next week's episode. Thank you all for watching this review. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any of my other coverage. Check out all the reviews I've done in the last few days, some really fun stuff that I've been talking about, and I got a lot more things coming this week. So again, thank you for watching this review. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.